I mean, we can talk about the '90s surge. We can talk about what was your nerd stuff? Marvel comics.
God, so much, like everything.
Were you into Pokemon at all?
A little bit.
You do Pokemon a little bit?
I liked Digimon more.
Oh, you're a Digimon guy?
They were slightly less annoying because they could say more than just their name.
Right.
You know, that shit just got old. Like, I would choke the fuck out of Pikachu after, like, maybe a month. Just, like, say something else, bitch.
Say it one more time. I swear to God. But, I mean, that brand has made all the money.
Pokemon? Oh, God, yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's like one of the top selling, grossing entertainment properties of all time.
I'm old enough that I remember whenever it was first introduced in the States and it was still being marketed as Pocket Monsters.
Yeah.
Nobody wanted to say that before. They're like, that's a weird word. We don't know how to say that.
Pocket Monster almost sounds more dirty, though.
Sounds like something that you play with in public that you're not supposed to.
Yeah. Get out that Pocket Monster.
Yeah. Get your hands off your Pocket Monster. Put your dick beaters where I can see them.
Yeah. So they switched to Pokemon.
Yeah, which is a good call. It does sound like sounds like it could be a gay Jamaican porno, but there it is.
There it is. So let me say it slow in my head real quick.
Pokemon, yeah.
But yeah, man.
I just came to spill tea. I mean, that seems to be how you rack up views on podcasts.
Yeah.
What are you spilling tea?
Yeah, whenever you got like
Marty Johnson is a walrus.
Sure. Yeah. Hello and welcome to episode 21 of Rhythm and Wit, the podcast and video series where we discuss and explore the creative and artistic expressions of artists and performers in Oklahoma City and its neighboring cities, also referred to as the greater metro area. My name is David Steele. I am a bass player, a music producer, a graphic designer, a photographer, and a film hobbyist. My co-host is Nicholas Campbell. Nick is a stand-up comedian, a singer, a songwriter, guitar player, electrical contractor, a husband, a father, and my best friend for the past 25 years. In today's episode, we welcome a special guest, Brandon Killough. Brandon is a stand-up comedian, a producer, a writer, a lyricist, and a former rapper. We talked to Brandon today about his approach to doing impressions, as well as his observational humor, his cultural humor, and dark humor. We also asked him what it's like to headline shows, and got some tips on running an open mic and how to promote shows. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and podcast feeds to keep up with new episodes that drop every Friday. We hope you enjoyed today's episode and our conversation with Brandon, as we greatly appreciate your time and attention.
Ready?
Okay.
In 5, 4.
Oh, you do this. Okay.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Rhythm and Wit. My name is David Steele, and with me, as always, is
Nick Campbell, guys. What's up? What's going on?
today we want to welcome another special guest, Brandon Killough.
Cat Williams.
It's a solid impression.
Thank
Cat
you.
Williams.
Yeah,
Your Cosby is good too. Yeah, you can't bust that out anywhere though, right?
No, you can't bust that out everywhere.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta have the right context.
A lot
The
of
funny
Yeah,
thing is, like, when people compliment my Bill Cosby impression, I don't think they realize I'm not even doing an impression of Bill Cosby. I'm technically doing an impression of Eddie Murphy doing an impression of Bill Cosby.
Nice.
But you know, I'll take it.
Can we get a taste? A little taste?
It's Sunday. You better watch your dirty mouth. Okay, so the Bill. I'll just do the fucking song. You got what I need. And you say he's just a friend. But you say he's just a friend. Oh, baby, you. A lot of it is in the face. It's
Really, when you think about it.
I feel like you've been doing more impressions.
I've been leaning into it a little bit more. It's fun for me to do the impressions. And it's fun for me to do the musical stuff. Like, honestly, that shit isn't even really for y'all. That's this for me. Yeah. But a lot of people have been saying that I'm fun to watch, or they enjoy my sets. Like, they're high energy, they're a lot of fun, and I think that's because I'm genuinely having fun up there.
Yeah,
I've gotten to the point where I know
sure.
what works, and I can pick out the stuff that works that I also still enjoy doing. You know what I mean? But a lot of times you do a joke for months trying to figure it out, and then you figure it out and it starts working, and by then you're fucking tired of that
You've
joke.
been telling it so long.
It's just like,
that's the same thing with music, for sure.
I just started working.
I do that all the time with music. It's like you play a song for I get sick of it, but then it's like you think of new people that never heard it before, and it's like I think you have to try to find the enjoyment through new people experiencing it.
And that does make it more. I mean, of course makes it more enjoyable to tell a joke when people laugh.
Like, even no matter how many times you've told it.
But you've gotten to the point where these bits are now getting claps. Like, they're not guaranteed, but they're leading up to
like applause breaks.
Which I saw them at the beginning when you were like, about a year and a half ago.
When they were trash.
I didn't want to say it. But look, but they were, you had little pieces of these things, especially the aerial under the sea Terry Crews stuff. That was like my favorite one for a long time. But then you kind of pushed that off and did these other really good ones too, and just kind of built onto it. And then it's made this whole almost 15-minute bit. That ends with, oh my God.
The Terry Crews thing got completely cut from the black aerial bit because I think I was the only one, and now I know maybe you. I was like, I think I'm the only one that finds this funny.
Really?
Like, I was doing it, it just wasn't getting anywhere near the reaction I expected. And I kept doing it longer than I should have because I enjoyed doing it. Just picture Terry Crews as King Trident was just fun for me.
Just the screaming along. Oh!
And there's something about those Old Spice commercials that seem like an offshoot of The Little Mermaid anyway.
He's in a bubble bath.
The little sailor sound, little doo-doo-doo.
He's half stepped there. I think that would have been a good one, honestly. Terry Crews would have killed that.
I think I'm most proud of my Arnold impersonation.
That one is good. Get to the chopper.
A lot of people can do the yelling Arnold. They can do action Arnold, but I feel like the key to a good Arnold impression is to be able to do both that and the just conversational.
Like
Arnold.
the normal tone.
To you, I am the potty pooper. Like, everybody always just goes straight for just because that's easier to do. But if you can do there is no bathroom, then that's.
You sound like you could be governor.
I would never. You don't want to put me in charge of it.
Do you have any other ones? I mean, do you practice them in the mirror? Do you just kind of like, I
don't practice them in the mirror like that. I don't think I really ever have. I know I have other ones. There's the Randy Newman.
That was good too.
Cat Williams. Lil Wayne, which is very similar to Cat Williams. It's like Cat Williams with a sinus infection.
I think that seems like a lot of people will like do similar. You have your own voice, so it's easier to fall into certain, people's voice. But then if you find one person that you do really well, and then you're like, oh, well, this other person's just that, but with a twist, you can just find
different variations of that same voice.
Right, so you have to kind of find that. Yeah, because I always thought it was interesting that you're one of the few people that I've seen around that locally that do a lot of impressions at all. Like, I think a lot of people are probably scared of them, honestly.
And I don't think mine are, like, great. I feel like it's funnier to have a slightly off impression than a spot on one. You know what I mean? There's only, you have like Jay Farrow who can just sound like fucking anybody, and it's super impressive. That is both impressive and just the way he does it makes it funny. But I'm not gonna be able to do anything
Right,
at
like
that level. So I think it's funny to just let it be a little bit off.
Because if you can just
embrace that. And,
I think with the combination of whatever the joke is too,
Right.
you can it works very well, because sometimes like you can do a joke and you have to do an impression to maybe get that point across in a way, or not necessarily have to, but you know, it's like if the joke calls for the impression versus it seems like
it's an interesting niche within comedy. Like, honestly, sometimes the joke can make the impression more funny, and sometimes the impression makes the joke more funny. Like, you can say almost anything in Arnold Schwarzenegger's voice, and it makes it hilarious.
Right.
Same thing with Cat Williams. Like, it's give and take on that Cat Williams thing, because the mythical creature part is the joke and the riddle, but the voice sells it.
Yeah.
But it's also just a funny concept. Like I got it just from watching that interview. When he said that about Ricky Smiley, I was like, why does he sound like he's talking to the Billy Goats gruff right now?
Why does he get cast more often as a woman than as a man?
Hell yeah.
Yeah, this is a great observation. That's beautiful. Yeah, how do you pick what popular topics? Is it just something that pops out to you? Do you scour news, or you're just like, what the hell is this, dude?
No, I'm way too busy to actually like watch most of the news, honestly. It's just shit that jumps out to me.
Right. Whenever you're
if I find it funny, especially like when I'm watching the actual thing itself, if it's making me laugh and think of these jokes, then I know I gotta go for it. You know, hearing that Lizzo made one of her backup dancers eat a banana out of some Dutch stripper's vagina. First of all, you don't have to do a lot of writing.
Right,
like, it almost writes itself. But that type of stuff jumps out to me. And that's why for the longest time, I've found other ways to present a lot of those jokes, but for the longest time, I was just basically doing like a weekend update thing. Like, let me go over topical jokes. And I would joke about the fact that I don't really fully watch the news. Like, I'm trying to watch the news more so I can do topical jokes for the audiences, but I'm bad at it because I have ADHD and I smoke a lot of weed, which is true, but that also gives me the wiggle room to mess with the actual news story a little bit.
Kind of,
instead of giving an actual blow-by-blow account, I can change some details and just feign ignorance, basically. That's like the Lizzo thing. Like, I know that didn't happen at her concert. But I present it as from a position of ignorance, so I can be like, I don't know what people. That sounds like an amazing concert. That gives me the wiggle room to play with it, and not just tell the story as it actually is.
Right. It's not as interesting or as funny whenever you just
spitting facts.
Because if you were saying it like, this happened and this is how I feel, people would be like,
Well, sometimes, or sometimes honestly just the reality of the story isn't as funny. Her actually like mentally and kind of physically abusing her backup dancers is not funny at all. It's a horrible thing. But me pretending that I think it happened at a concert and being like, that sounds like a fun concert. That's the twist.
I think most comedy in general, right? It's just your observation of the world and your perception of your experience, essentially. So it's like whatever it is that you, and it's like, so if you're like, you know, sitting at your house half-ass paying attention to the news and you hear something about that, and it's like, that's the idea of the bit, and it's like, and that's what people perceive that you're perceiving, and it is true in that way. It's like, I don't know, but it's just kind of taking your experience and presenting it.
Most of my act is me feigning ignorance or pretending to be way dumber than I actually am.
But it's it's part of your persona in a way, on stage persona, and like you presenting yourself as a character of yourself in a way that you can connect to the audience and or they connect to you through that character. I think maybe a little bit easier.
What do you think your persona is? Do you have an idea? Do you think it's something you can even kind of hold on to, or just evolves over time?
Former criminal. Yeah, I don't know, man. Honestly,
Yeah, because you come off like
the music guy.
Yeah.
Yes, I don't know.
Yeah. I feel like you feel smart up there. You're like nerdy. You know,
Yeah.
what I mean? You kind of come off as like a nerd, and you also kind of like, guys, look at this. This is weird, right?
Yeah.
Like that kind of attitude.
Yeah.
But
yeah. I think my style is, I never thought about it that way before. I think that's kind of what I do. Just twist things a little bit, turn things on their ear. And I don't like pick popular topics on purpose. I just pick the stuff that I'm interested in and that I'm into and that catches my fancy. Try to be in the moment a lot more too. I was talking to Trevor. That's who I went to Missouri with last night. Trevor Carrion.
Okay.
And just talked to him about how for the first chunk of your comedy career, you're focusing on like 5 things at a time on stage. So you're in your act rather than really being in the moment.
Right.
You're up there like, all right, I have to fill this time. I have to hit this mark. I have to tell this joke. I have to read the audience's reaction. I have to look for the light. I have to think of the joke that I'm right in the middle of. I have to think of the next joke. I have to think of the transition to these. All these things constantly going through your head that are keeping you from being in the moment, actually, on stage. And eventually, once you get comfortable enough with what you're doing, and you get a big enough bag to where instead of like, this is the set that I'm doing tonight, bullet point 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You get a big enough bag to just pick and choose and pull from it. And you get it comfortable enough up there to actually just be in the moment. I feel like you start to open up a lot more. Your sets start to change. That's why I do a lot more crowd work now. I'm still not like a super heavy crowd work comic, but I'll sprinkle in a few minutes within each set. And that's really just for me actually being in that moment in the room.
You try to connect with the moment and
making
connect
observations with the audience and stuff like that.
Environment, yeah.
Well, I noticed like there's a few like planned moments. I've learned a lot from working with you and just trying to like basically mimic you but do my own kind of. So like I do have like a hey, anybody married, and then I kind of walk through a certain thing with it.
Yeah.
But in yours, you have one that's, I mean, one of my favorites. And I don't really want to tell it, but I mean, it's like you go and you high five somebody, and they're, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's like one of my favorite parts because they just get trapped.
Yeah.
They like,
Yeah.
And if you want to hear it, you come see it.
Yeah, for sure. I love doing that joke too.
Yeah.
That's just. There's always, almost always, gonna be a white guy in the front row. Just, y'all can afford the singing. And that just sets it up so well. You know what I mean? It's just like, I'm gonna fuck with this guy.
Well, and you win the crowd almost immediately. Yeah, because they're with you. They're like, oh, they got him. We're all playing.
Right.
And then everything sails after that. That's a really good one.
Yeah.
I noticed you do like a lot of you and Kayvon. Something I really like. I think we did a show way back when I first started. It was like my second show or something. It was this like, it was a tough show because nobody was paying attention. But you did great just because you're who you are. But then and Kayvon did great. But he comes in and he just kind of starts looking at people and he goes, "I'm gonna make fun of his shoes.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make. All right, that's kind of funny. This is cool." And then I was like, "Oh, before you get there, try to plan something out in the room."
Yeah.
Look for.
And so I took that to. I don't know if you remember when they used to do the joinery.
Yeah.
I think it was the joinery, yeah. And that was a really great spot, but they had this door that led right into the kitchen and said, "Please do not enter."
Right.
You know, only staff only. I was like, why would that be open? It's so inviting.
Yeah.
Your food's literally right there. I was like, this is $5. No, it's not. I'm going to wait.
$3.99.
Keep an eye on me because it's about to be mine. But I did that and it popped and I was and so like I said, I've learned a lot from just watching and trying to like, okay, how can I do that in my way?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I was doing some shows in Tulsa, and I went to the bathroom before the show, and it was just perfect timing because this guy walked past me into the showroom, and I was just like, I'm definitely gonna fuck with that guy. Just for the way, and he, I was so blessed he ended up sitting in the front row too. It was like front and center. Dude looked like his day job was selling cocaine and exotic animals.
Okay.
And by night he was a Batman villain. That's
Oh,
just
shit.
Yeah, let's go a little deeper. Let's. What did he have on?
leopard print
Yeah.
button-up shirt
Okay.
with a black vest over that. Chains, rings,
Yeah, it's
and
like
then skinny jeans with like holes in them.
Yeah.
And this gentleman was at least 50 years old.
Yeah.
So it was just like, what are you doing?
Yeah, dude.
Like, you're either part of the musical group Shadazy, or you are you're selling like illegal like lemurs and cocaine.
Could be both.
Could be, but
Little bit of
probably yeah.
The amount of rings you're talking
yeah, it's
about.
like that. But those kind of people, I feel like that. Yeah, he of course he sat in the front row because he wants everybody to see him. Like that's the point. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and so it's like, yeah, it's and of course, and I think you know pointing him out on stage, it's like even I don't know what his reaction was, but
He
deep
was
down
into it.
he
Turns
wanted
out
it.
he was a comic, and I've
okay.
been like Facebook friends with this guy
Oh
for
shit!
years.
Oh, shit.
He's like, I know you. I was
Yeah.
like, I'm so sorry.
But still, like, but even still, but like a lot of comics do, they want to stand out. They want to be a center of attention in whatever room they're in, usually. So
Right.
makes
I
sense.
am the exact opposite.
yeah, yeah, which is kind of interesting because I feel like just getting to know you a little bit. I think correct me if I'm wrong. You seem a little bit more introverted than most other comics. Yeah, like, and it's something I've noticed. I think I've talked a lot about with artists, like visual artists, a lot, and musicians, of course. But it's like there's a difference between comics and artists and musicians. I mean, there's a lot of similarities, but the personalities, like comics are mostly very extroverted, very loud, and you know, just
Look at
high
me.
energy.
Yeah.
And then artists are the opposite, very quiet, but then you make these great works of art, of course.
Yeah.
And then musicians are kind of in the middle. They can go either way, I think.
I actually have severe social anxiety.
Yeah.
Really?
So it's like
Almost
I
crippling.
identify with that a
anxiety.
lot.
I've never noticed.
People usually don't.
Mm-hmm.
At least not since comedy has helped
Yeah.
incredibly
Get you out,
with that.
for
And
sure.
when I get on stage, it goes away.
Mm-hmm.
Oddly enough, like I am more comfortable on stage in front of 100+ people than I am sitting on this couch talking.
Yeah,
to you
just a
right now.
couple of people.
It's
yeah.
just like, I don't know, more intimate, more pressure, more direct eye contact. I used to
Yeah.
not be able to have a conversation with somebody face to face and make eye contact without physically shaking. Like I
Whoa.
would start to just
How long ago was this, you think?
probably about 10 years.
Really?
Yeah, maybe a little
and then
more.
growing up from then on, you kind of
Yeah, just and I still would like avoid, you know, a lot of social situations and not approach people, and I still kind of do to an
Yeah.
extent, but like I said, it goes away when I'm on stage. I don't feel that way at all on stage. I feel the exact opposite. I
Yeah.
feel confident. I feel calm. But it's that, and I've had to force myself to talk to people and socialize off of stage because you got to network.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah,
huge
that's a big
part of
part
it.
of
You
it.
know what I mean? You could be the funniest dude alive, and if you suck at networking, you're dead in the water.
funny and
Yeah.
alone. That's
Yeah. So I've had to
Yeah.
really push myself to be able to socialize, to be able to talk to people about bookings, to
Right.
get booked, to book other people, to set up shows, to promote shows, all of that. And it's probably why it seems like I do that stuff so much, where I'm
Yeah.
constantly pushing to do that stuff, is because it is a struggle for
That's
me.
something I think about all the time, or lately too. But a lot of people that have, it's like the things that you're weakest at sometimes ends up being your strongest strength because you push yourself to do it more than anything else.
Yeah, that's
because
definitely
you're
the stuff
weaker
that you
at it.
should be attacking and
Yeah.
pushing yourself to get better at.
It's like whatever it is that you're the weakest at. It usually is like, I mean, if you need it to do whatever you're doing,
Yeah.
especially.
And I'm super proud of how far I've come
Yeah.
with it now. Like I'm gonna be in Florida for 3 days in February.
Hey, congratulations.
Doing some shows
And
out
I
there.
just like probably about a week ago started sincerely like hitting people up to book that, and I've booked 2 shows so far in Florida, just off the strength of my reputation, my clips and stuff like that. But that's a good litmus test for yourself. Like it's part of this was proving to myself that I could just pick a place,
Yeah.
or have other business and a reason to go to a place and just set up some stuff to actually get booked out there.
Yeah.
And that's when you're starting to get into the level where you're trying to travel, which is what I'm trying to do a lot more. Being able to do that is huge. That's crucial. And I didn't think I would be able to, you know, do that. Definitely before this, I would have never thought I'd be able to do that.
Yeah.
Well, what was the change? Where was you were doing open mics, you were hard working here in OKC, and then all of a sudden, bam, now you're doing middle acts, headlining.
I mean, I don't think I could pick one particular thing. It was like a series of things all just packed into like the first few months of 2023.
Okay.
Like all of a sudden stuff just took off.
Yeah,
The Othello's Comedy Classic was a big part of that. Winning that.
It's coming up. It's coming up.
It's coming back.
It's coming up this February.
Every Tuesday in February, 5 comics can qualify for the finals of the Classic. And it's the same prize as last year.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Nice.
So what's the
Yeah,
prize?
you get to do a weekend at the Comedy Cellar. in
Oh
Las
yeah, okay.
Vegas.
That's I knew
That's
that.
huge.
So that definitely helped
Yeah.
and catapulted me and boosted my rep quite a bit. But before I even went to go do that booking in Vegas, before I actually went to the Comedy Cellar, stuff just started taking off. You know what I mean? Like around the same time as the competition, I got booked on the Carlos Mencia weekend. That was huge. You know, it's the only show I've done in front of over 2,000 people.
Incredible.
And that was just insane.
What does the laughter feel like? What is that?
Scary.
Yeah.
So in those big arenas and theaters
Yeah.
and stuff like that, any big theater room where the stage is pulled that far back from the audience and there's just that many people and that much space in the room, there is a delay on the laughter. It takes the sound
That's
a
wild.
little bit of time to travel to the stage. So I went out and I told my first joke and was just mortified because I thought it bombed. Like I told my first joke and nothing, and I was just like, oh no. And then it hit.
Yeah.
Like maybe 20, 30 seconds later, the laughter hit the stage. I was like, oh, thank
And it probably
God.
it probably felt even longer than it really was, just because you're.
Oh,
so,
it felt like an eternity.
Yeah, you're
It's
just
like,
so
oh,
in the moment. You're like, oh god.
I'm screwed.
I'm gonna get this money.
But so it ended up going well then.
Oh
the
yeah,
show,
really well. Like after I realized what was happening,
Yeah.
I just kind of slowed down a little bit.
Okay. You kind of put yourself on a lag.
Yeah. Just once you're cognizant of that, you can make
Yeah.
adjustments for it.
I had the same problem at the old folks home I did yesterday.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, everybody, because
It was a reverse problem. It took me sound a second to hit that hearing aid.
there's a little bit of lag in that hearing aid. Some of them didn't even have them turned on. But the first comic, like it was Vanna Hightower, and it was Hurley. Sarge.
Okay, Hurley King.
Yeah, he's so good, man. But he would, you know how he is, man. He's really good at talking, and so he just keeps going. But this lady in the back talks to this other lady, and he's not getting any laughs. I'm like, that's crazy. These are perfect, you know. And then Vanna gets up, and one of the ladies in the back goes, "I can't hear," and I was like, "Oh Lord!" And then so, as Vanna's doing her set, she comes over. And she goes, "Hey, some of the people have earplugs, and it takes a second. So just can you slow down?" You know, I was like, "Okay, well I'm gonna do that."
Yeah.
So then I got up there and went like I was talking to 5-year-olds, just slow as I could, and you know my stuff, dude. It's cheesy. So like they ate it up, dude.
it.
They loved it, and so like I killed for all 20 people, 20. You know what I'm saying?
But you did you would say like you got the most laughs probably
Because I was able to slow down. Yeah. Yeah.
But sometimes, hey, it's so much better sometimes to go in the middle or the end of a show.
Yeah. Because you
Everybody
know.
else can figure all that shit out for
Exactly,
you.
yeah.
So that was the benefit. That's something I learned. But every place. Does that come from probably also being comfortable enough with your act to be able to read the crowd in the moment?
Yeah. I mean, and that's something, God, that is so crucial that so few of us do. That's almost more important than just being funny, is being able to read the room, and react accordingly.
Yeah.
I know some people that can read the room but just don't give a shit. They're just like, oh, I'm gonna go and do my stuff anyway.
Yeah.
So I guess some people, I mean, but I think some people can, I don't know, I wouldn't even say that they, but it's like you can get away with that, of course, just doing your stuff and just not even paying attention to the audience and still be funny, but that's not always going to work. I mean, that will bite you in the ass eventually.
Yeah.
If you rely on that, I would imagine.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But yeah, that's something that, I mean, I keep hearing from talking to comedians every week now. It's just like, it's so important to connect with the audience as soon as you can, and just like, and that's always, I think, probably one of the, I mean, if I ever try it, of course, or whatever, if I ever get into it, I know all the tips from you guys. But it's like, one of them is definitely just point something out that everyone in the room can relate to immediately,
Like everyone in the room being white.
Well, that works, though.
Yeah.
I mean,
it worked.
Doesn't matter
really,
what
listen,
it is.
if it wasn't for white guilt, I would not be anywhere near where I am.
Yeah.
well, we still need to be joking about it then.
Right.
Yeah, that's how we got to get it. But yeah, Liz started.
Yeah, I saw that she went up at JJ's last week.
Yeah, she did JJ's because she's going to host the February Lively, and it's all female, and I'm just going to take the door.
Yeah.
And so she's going to get up there, but she's trying to, get a little practice, but she was up there, and she's like, it didn't feel like she got a chance to even see what was going on.
Yeah.
She's like, she was focusing on this, kind of like the stuff you said, and she got off. But every time, that's what I learned, is every time you get up, you're like, oh, I can quiet the noise a little more.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of get into it.
Yeah.
Read the crowd, get comfortable with looking people in the eyes too. And kind of being there with them.
I always heard that, like, I mean, I never do this with music. I usually, when I'm on stage playing music, for years I've done this, and only recently stopped every time doing it, but I always wear sunglasses. I don't want to see anyone.
Yeah.
But it's different for a musician. You're just, I'm just getting into my mode of playing and stuff. But one thing I've always heard is that you could look at somebody, like, look above their eyes, if you, like, at the top of their heads instead, just if it makes it easier.
Honestly, most comedy stages, you can't see the damn audience.
Right. Yeah, the lights. That's the thing. Usually with music too, when I play on stages, it's like very bright lights, and so the sunglasses help with that.
Right.
From being less blinding. I think with comedy, I think it hurts. Very few comics I've seen wore sunglasses.
There was a time period where I was constantly wearing sunglasses on stage.
Really? Because it helped in that way.
No, it was basically. So it was basically just like me taking my podcast persona and trying to make that.
Which because it could be a character. Like, I guess what's his name, Andrew Dice Clay, didn't he wear sunglasses a lot? I mean, there's certain people that could pull it off.
What was that persona?
The Highness from the Highness and Boozer podcast.
Gotcha,
and I mean, I don't know. I think people just thought I was just a fucking jackass.
Yeah, that's what I think. It takes away something from comedy. It's like that you have to look at people in the eyes, I think, to connect with them as a audience member connecting to.
I got some really good action shots from that time.
Yeah,
I mean, I looked
cool. Yeah.
How long ago did you say that was?
Oh God, probably
the early days.
Probably about a year ago. No, it wasn't that long ago. Not even that long ago. Maybe probably about 2 years ago. Yeah.
I didn't see you with any on. I've been around since probably before the too.
That's the thing.
I used to wear them.
Yeah.
That's how I got over my stage fright.
That's what I mean. When we did music, for sure. But I think it's different for musicians than
it's like training wheels.
Yeah.
But I also got to where I could take them off and I would like sing to people in their eyes.
Yeah.
That was like you get more connection out of that.
I was utilizing the looking over the rim of the glasses for certain shit that I wanted to hit harder or connect with people more on. It wasn't that it didn't really hurt my comedy. I think people just thought that I was a pretentious.
They have they immediately have a assumption about you.
Yeah, they're just like, oh, this guy's a prick.
Right.
Like, thinks he's Jared Leto.
Yeah, I think that's something. But of course, it's like anything. You can use it if you're using it in your act and it's a part of your persona or your character. Then sure, anything can work. I mean,
when you go by a nickname like the Highness, like you have to appear cooler than this.
Yeah,
it just wasn't working.
Looks like there's effort involved.
I think that's partly why I like sunglasses so much too. It's just like I feel like it makes me cooler. I mean, it's like I feel like I'm not cool, I guess, and so it's like you know what I mean. Then that way you're like you want to look cooler.
Yeah, it's the same reason why I wear a bolo tie. That's my next thing. I'll do it on stage. You'll see.
It's working.
Part of your character.
It's working.
Calm. Yeah, I'm the yeehaw.
Yeah, so we kind of skipped over the beginning stuff, but it's like, how long have you been doing comedy?
About 7 years.
Yeah.
I hesitate to count the first two.
Right.
But, about 7
But
years.
still, I mean, you've been at least thinking about it for that long. I mean, you know, as far as
Yeah, well, I mean, I was doing it. I just,
in the first couple years.
yeah, I wasn't good, and it just wasn't really devoting nearly as much time into it as I do now and as I should have. And then once I started taking it seriously, people started taking me more seriously.
Right.
I started actually getting booked on stuff. And then the pandemic happened.
Yeah.
So, like, right when I was starting to get good, it was just like, hey, we're not going to have...
That's just like everything. I mean, I was doing so much with music in 2019 and into 2020, and like, all that stopped, and it was just, I mean, it just killed performances all over the country. I mean, and the world, of course, but...
Luckily,
definitely.
Oklahoma only, like, shut down properly for probably, like, what, 3 months? Yeah.
Because, I mean, that was right whenever the Bricktown opened, and then it was the worst timing for them.
I honestly feel like that's why we had this little like comedy boom in Oklahoma, and why Bricktown Comedy Club is doing so well, because we were one of the first places in the country to reopen.
For comedy, for sure.
Performers, you know, a lot of these big names were like, shit, I can sit at home or I can go to Oklahoma City.
Yeah, dude.
That's a good point. I didn't think about that.
We got Mark Norman, Jeff Dye. I mean, I saw a bunch of those.
In 2020?
Yeah, way early.
Because I remember, I remember when they first opened before the pandemic. It was like, what was it, like that January or something when they
it was
opened?
like so close.
but they had some really heavy hitters, you know, in the first few months, and then, of course it was continued. I mean, through that year, but I didn't really notice whenever it kind of slowed down with the big people coming through. But
I remember that first year. It just felt like it was just nothing but huge names.
Which that's an interesting point for sure.
So is that when you got started on the stage up there? Like you started open micing, started kind of opening and hosting?
I mean, I'd been at that point. I'd been doing comedy for about 2 years, and then stuck with it through the pandemic. It was one of those that just as soon as I could get back on a stage, I did.
Right.
And then after that, probably toward the end of 2020, I started doing my open mic at Kendall's. And then that next year, I decided to start doing some showcases, and then just kind of built everything from there.
Slowly.
Kendall's was when I first started. Kendall's was, I think I was there for maybe a month, and then right at the tail end of that month, Kendall's was about to go. But it was a staple. It was in the
it was a pillar.
Because there wasn't very many. I mean, what was the time frame that you did that?
2020 to
2022,
the end of 2022.
Because I never made it out there, but I remember seeing it all the time on
it was
Facebook.
Huge, man. Like there'll never be anything like that again. Like it started off your average open mic, like 4 people there and a bunch of comics,
most
and
mics,
it grew from
mics.
that to selling out every showcase that I put on there toward the end.
So you're doing a weekly open mic?
By the end, I was doing a Monday mic at Kendall's, a Thursday mic at Kendall's, and at least 1 to 2 showcases a month. I think the heaviest month I did there, we had 3 showcases.
That was like a Friday or Saturday or something like that.
But man, it was a time. Like that's when we started getting like celebrities would drop in. And just come by, like people that were doing weekends at Bricktown or Looney Bin. Would do their Thursday night out there. And
that was the mic to go to.
And just pop in. I mean, we had Cam Bertrand, Shivari. That's how I met Cody Smith. He popped in. Mark Norman almost came. And just decided against it last minute. But just so many people just...
But I think it's interesting. I mean, back then it seems like there wasn't a lot of mics, though. I mean, at all. I mean, now there's a ton. I think maybe, and now back then there was probably a few, but
it was a handful.
It started to grow. I mean, this past year for sure. It's like I'm just getting into this kind of scene, and even knowing how many, but there's a ton now, but I feel like it's taken a while to get to this point.
I remember there was a time period in 2021, and I think it bled over into 2022 a little bit, where me and a handful of other like showrunners and producers, comics around the area, we decided to kind of set forth with the goal to have an open mic every night of the week. Monday through Sunday, something somewhere for people to practice. And we got close. I think at one point we had Monday through Saturday. And I think there was even something like in El Reno on Sundays. We were so close to achieving this goal. And then kind of just gave up because we would have so many comics like, oh, we need a mic on this night, we need a mic on this night, and then you would provide that mic, and then they wouldn't freaking show up. So it's just like, stop asking for things that you don't really want.
That probably became too much.
They want the option.
Honestly, at a certain point, I was running at least 3 mics a week, Monday, Thursday, and Friday.
Yeah, so I mean, it's like
2 mics at Kindle's and 1 at Poor Liquid Lounge, and still trying to book showcases and do showcases and jump on. And that was probably the busiest and least rewarding time period in my career.
Really?
Yeah, it was just like, I spread myself way too thin, constantly trying to do new material to try to. That's probably the only benefit I got from that time period, was just how it affected my work ethic and how much material I came up with, because it's like, I'm gonna be on stage 5 times this week.
Yeah.
A lot of that is gonna be in front of the same people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do the same set.
Yeah, you have to change it up at that point.
And back then, I was actually forcing myself to do a set at every single open mic. Even when I was running the mic and hosting the mic. Like now, when I do the OK Culture mic, I rarely do a set unless I have a show coming up and I want to practice a few specific jokes.
Yeah.
So that's like once in a blue moon. Most of the time, I just get up there and say the names. I'm not gonna run my. I don't. It feels like too much. It feels like,
unless it's I mean, like, I think Nick, you do a good job when it's the showcase. It's like you do 5 minutes.
Well, I'm a little greedy. I wanted.
Well, showcase, totally different story.
Thing.
Totally different story. You're the host of the showcase. They expect a little something to warm the crowd
warm
up.
It up.
And I think like 5 to 10 minutes is perfect. I prefer closer to 5. That's just me personally. Get the crowd loosened up, announce everything that's going on, that's going to happen, and then just keep things rolling. I don't think there's anything wrong with doing 10 minutes, but if it's my show, I prefer 5. But you hosted an open mic. Get the fuck out of the way. You know what I mean? It's like, what are you doing, man? Unless you're specifically practicing for something.
Or like, I could see maybe if there's not a lot of people signed up that night, and you got
fill it out. yeah, absolutely, 100%.
If you have a packed bill of people, you don't want to take any more of their.
Or if like them, really. It's a good night and you have like a big crowd there and you want to take advantage of that, I understand that. You know what I mean? God dang, there's like 20, 30 people that aren't comics.
Right. That's the thing. I think it's a rare thing that for a lot of, I'm sure for you guys going to the same mics, you're doing your jokes for the same other comedians that you see so it's hard to
worst,
find
really, to be
but I think it's way more beneficial and more what you want is to find a crowd of new people that you don't know and that have never seen you or heard of you before. So that's how you get the real reactions to your more reactions, new reactions.
And any form of practice, anywhere you get a chance to take the stage, there's something to be learned. There's even those terrible mics where it's all comics. If you have one of those and these people have heard that joke before and you tell it in a slightly different way or even the same way and it still gets a laugh,
then like,
bro, this dude has heard this joke at least 5 times. I know for a fact. You got something there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
that's a good point.
A tough time at Bricktown is whenever that happens. It really shows where the good spots in your set is.
Whenever everybody already knows the punchline.
Like that that uncle joke I do, that like my own uncle, like that one hits. Like that was my first one where it's like that was a good pop. And I was like, oh, that's what I'm searching for now. Yeah. Sometimes you don't even know what you're looking for.
I will say, for me, knowing you guys, I mean, I've seen you perform a ton, of course, because you're always with Nick on the Lively a lot, and I've seen you at other places. But it's like, so I know a lot of your jokes, and it's like, as soon as you start the setup, I start laughing because I already know what the joke is. You know?
We're about to talk about Will Smith.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yes, I'm like, yes, I love this joke.
I love it when he does.
It's like hearing, but I think that in that way, for me, anyways, it turns into like, oh, I know this, your songs. If you're a musician, it's like, oh, this is one of my favorite songs, so I'm excited to hear it again, even though I've heard it a lot or whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm sure that's not always the case. And with humor, of course, it's different than music as far as if you hear a joke 100 times or even 10 times, I think it's not as funny as the first time at all.
Right.
But music is not quite the same.
That's why I never tell a joke the exact same.
Right, change it up a little bit.
Change it up, add some tags, especially if you're going around the same city, same state.
You never know, because there could be people that in the audience that you don't even know that have seen you already.
Right.
I love this part.
Yeah.
I got one of those where the lady,
that's
yeah, she was like, oh my god, it's the part where the shock. She has the shock. Because she had one.
Right.
I think that's some of your best stuff. I think that whole thing with
that
your dad.
Yeah,
I like that stuff.
I've gotten a lot of really good stuff on some of the slower nights of the Bricktown mic, because it's just like, I'm not gonna do material tonight.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna throw that out the window.
Yeah.
No plan. Like, it's just
go up there.
Do riffs.
Because I think it's like, even if it's like the bar shows, like the ambush shows we talk about a lot, where people aren't even there for comedy.
Yeah.
There's a ton to learn from there. I mean, like you're saying, like the more times you can get on a stage and get more used to being on a stage, it's beneficial.
Yeah,
because
without putting yourself out, take every opportunity you possibly can.
That's a good thing. Yeah, even if it's a complete waste of time, and in every aspect, it's still not, because you're still getting on a stage and getting more experience of being on a stage in front of people, and that way you're getting more used to it, like we're talking about being able to be in the moment. I think it's
now ambush comedy is my exception to that rule.
Right, exactly.
Like I hate surprise comedy.
Yeah,
it is the freaking worst. Like, if I'm ever at a music open mic and like my buddy's on stage and he's like, hey, I got to tune my guitar, you want to tell a few jokes? Absolutely not. Nobody wants that. Yeah. Trust me. Like,
something I've been curious about, and I was kind of wanting to pick your brain about, was reading a crowd.
Yeah.
What do you do when you walk into a place? What do you check in? When you start looking at a crowd, what are you looking for when you get up there and you're looking at the crowd while you're doing your joke?
Shoes.
Shoes?
You can tell so much about people by their shoes. Whether they're, blue collar, white collar, their youth. I could tell you're a father just by looking at
my shoes are.
I could tell that you are a musician.
Yeah. I have my Levi's, the brand that is well known for making shoes, of course.
Yeah, did you wear your Marvel socks too because Brandon was coming?
No, I always wear my DC socks.
That's the flag.
Yeah. Oh, my bad. Look, then I did it right. I got my Marvel socks on. All right, okay. All right, I got you. My bad.
But no, just in all honesty, that's why I like to show up to the venue a little early, and I'll kind of sit off in my little corner, and just kind of observe, man. You can you can tell by the conversations people are having, by the groups that are clumping up, and really. It's one of the few times where it's okay to kind of stereotype.
Yeah.
like put a cork in it. Those people obviously had a decent amount of money. They were all white and mostly over the age of 40.
Yeah. I mean, you could tell so much from those.
But none of them clutched their purses whenever I walked closely to them. So it was just like, all right, I could do my thing. They fuck with black people. Yeah, I don't have to be like, hey guys, let's I can play with it a little.
Would you even make that turn though? Would you be like, nah, I'm just doing this? You would
Probably. I would probably still just do mine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I'd hold back though.
Yeah.
Like you know what I mean? I made that joke about how I saw those white people and I was trying to figure out how to cut the N-word out of all of my jokes.
Yeah.
This probably wasn't necessary. They probably say it too.
Again, stereotype.
Yeah.
Accuracy is key.
But no, man, it's just you just really have to be observational. You have to know people to a certain extent, which is difficult for a lot of us inverted people. But
Right. If you don't, having been out to meet a lot of people, I think that's probably one of the key things that probably for comedians that don't think about it, it's like try to meet as many people as you can.
Yeah.
Just to get to know them better. I mean, all kinds of people, different races and cultures and stuff too.
And if you're observing some of these conversations before a comedy show, you'd be surprised how many of these folks are already out there in the crowd joking around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they're already in a jovial mood. They're there for comedy. They're there for the ha-has and the
Trying to
funny.
have fun,
A lot of times you can tell their exact type of humor just by listening to their conversations pre-show. You know what I mean?
That's
You'd be I mean, you said you're an introvert. Do you ever just go out and maybe make contact at any of these tables and just kind of like, hey, what's up, man? You know,
At a show?
Yeah.
Before a show?
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
I was curious.
Absolutely not. No, I mean, if I recognize people, sometimes
Friends.
and stuff like that, but strangers, no.
Okay, I see it. See, because I'll do that.
Yeah.
I'll walk out and be like, hey, what brought
But
you
that's,
here?
yeah,
Just
but you, 'cause you
ingratiate
don't,
myself
you're
with
not
them.
afraid to just straight up ask them about themselves.
I wouldn't say afraid.
No, but I am too. That's like whenever you guys do that, I'm thinking like I'm in the same place as you. Like forget that. never.
Well, I'll go pick people off the street. I ain't scared of nobody, dude.
Me neither. No, just a big part of it for me isn't even really like the anxiety or anything like that. I will seclude myself before a show just to get in my zone. I don't usually go in with a direct plan, especially not anymore. But sitting there and having a full-on conversation with somebody could just take me completely out of my zone, out of my bag, out of anything I might be thinking about.
Because you start thinking about whatever the conversation is with that, and not even and that whatever that is not having anything to do with this moment. I'm sure.
Really?
So it's
comics, especially like other comics. If you've ever seen me before a show and try to come and have a conversation with me, and I seem standoffish, it's because I don't want to talk to you. And it's not like anything personal. It's just like I don't want our conversation to stay in my head.
You can't get rid of it.
I don't want to, you know what I mean, like have like at least a loose idea of the topics that I want to talk about, and all of a sudden what you just approached me about
then you start
is
thinking
stuck
about
in my head, and I forgot the direction that I was actually planning on going. Even though I'm not like word for word, joke for joke planning out my set, I still don't need all these outside influences
Makes sense. I mean,
getting in my head.
Yeah, I'm sure that everybody's different with that too.
Absolutely.
Well, I feed off of it.
Yeah.
It gets me into the rhythm of talking and being funny.
Yeah.
So that's interesting to see the two different.
Well, like I said, I think that, I don't think I don't think there are very many introverted comics, to be honest. I mean, so it's like, it's interesting that of course there are going to be big differences between those types of personalities.
Well, I know Chandler Watson, he does take his time. He goes off to the side and he's like, I'm doing some art before I get up here.
I've seen it from a lot of comics.
Nosh, that's such a good role.
It is.
Adrian
It's real
Dole
nice,
killing
dude.
it.
He's doing a great job.
That's a fantastic role. I feel proud because he's asked me for a lot of advice.
Hell
on that.
Yeah.
He's been doing really good. Him and Justin C, they even recorded the sets and
I
gave
saw
it
some
out
of
to
the
everybody.
pictures, so
It was really good. And then John Wallen did his first 40 minute set.
First
Did he headline?
He was good all the way through.
Yeah.
It was kill. He did the job.
I thought I was going to have my first out-of-state headlining gig on March 9th. And I was wrong. It was actually last night.
Oh,
yeah.
I didn't find out until like
you had said that when you
last
came in.
second, but yeah.
How are they becoming easier? Are you getting better with your pacing?
Yeah, I feel like I've been ready to headline
So
for a little bit.
And that's like a 30 minutes usually for headliners.
Usually closer to like 40 plus.
Yeah.
40,
That's
40,
what you did
40 to an hour.
You did the Cork one, right? 40 minutes.
Yeah, and that was.
Yeah.
I had more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I had to cut some jokes, but I'm usually pretty conscious of the time.
Yeah.
Actually, looking at the video, once I cut off your intro and my outro, within 10 seconds of being exactly at 40 minutes.
Nice.
Yeah. So you have like a good like internal probably clock in a way.
Not
probably.
really. I just that's the closest I come to like actually structuring and building my sets ahead of time.
Whenever you have to do that much
Like
time.
I've gotten methodical with my videos and my game tape. Like I'll watch it and cut out like the strongest bits and string them together into one big cohesive thing. But I'm like, okay, that was 3 minutes. That was 5. That was 8 minutes.
See it? Maybe you judge. You have a good kind of how long it takes to get through each whatever it is.
Yeah, it's almost like little interchangeable slides.
Yeah.
Like I have 40 minutes to fill, so I'll slide this 5 in here.
Yeah.
I'll slide this 8 in here. I'll slide this 10.
Oh yeah.
That's why I'll ask for the light at weird times that most people don't ask for. Like, give me the light at 5 minutes. Give me the light at 10 minutes. Most people are like 1 or 2. I'm like, give me the light at 5 minutes, because no matter what I do up to that 5 minutes, once I see that light, I got like 4 different 5-minute bits that I can tie into this and choose from.
Nice.
So
kind of
it's not really like keeping the internal clock throughout the entirety of it. It's just like, I got the light. I know I have 5 minutes left. Let me wrap this bit up.
Because it doesn't really matter. It doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't really matter up until that point when you only have so much time left.
Right.
Yeah. Well, once you start, like you said, creating your bag, you kind of know your bits a little better. You can kind of pull them out in different times. Like you tell a bit and you're like, oh, well, this will fit real good because this person said that.
I think that kind of stuff is probably even better or more handier whenever you're doing shorter sets, like 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, because then you can do a 1 8-minute and 2 5ers or something, if you have to.
Right. I gotta be honest, I fucking hate doing 5 to 10
Yeah, it's harder.
Anymore?
Now, I hate it.
That's something I've noticed that for watching that you guys do the cork in it shows. That I like those shows so much better than like the lively showcases. What, like 20 or 15 minutes?
Yeah, 10 to 15 depending on the situation.
So it's pretty short, but yeah, you don't have enough time to really get to know the comic sometimes. But with those 30, 40 minutes, like you get to really get to know the comic, and the comic gets to kind of fill out the stories more and kind of lay the groundwork more.
Yeah.
So
that's why honestly my lineups I've started to scale back.
Yeah.
When I do produce shows, I keep it as close to 3 or 4 acts as I can.
Yeah.
More like a traditional comedy show, like opener, feature, headliner, or opener, double feature, headliner.
Yeah.
Give everybody more time to stretch their legs, and typically also be able to pay everybody a little bit more.
Yeah,
that's true too.
I noticed I felt like I was stretching myself thin on these showcases that had like 5 to 8 people on there, and then at the end of the day when I'm divvying out the money, then I'm like, no, I'm literally stretching myself and the budget of this show thin for no reason, really. Just like, I'll get you guys next time. I know I want to put everybody on, you know what I mean? And that's why it started getting out of control, like 5, 6, 7, 8 people. It's like, I told them I put them on this month, and I've been wanting to put this guy on, and they just had a killer set, so I'm gonna put and it's just like, now there's 8 people, 8 comics, and 2 musicians on this show, and everybody could be walking out with $50+, but instead they're getting like 20. And it's just like,
that's a problem I run into. But I mean, I like, it's a good problem to have. I feel like because you're like, oh, I get to. That's why I want to do more shows, so I can put more people on.
Yeah,
that's what it feels like.
Right. I mean, that's literally one of the reasons why I started doing shows, was to put people on, give people a chance that would normally have to wait possibly years for a show.
Yeah, that's true. Well, that's what you told me too when I first started. You said, because I asked you kind of your opinion, and you were like, man, I just did it, but there was a turning point when you were like, but I started doing it for the scene versus for yourself.
Yeah, just so y'all know, anytime you see me hosting a fucking open mic, it is not for me.
Yeah.
It is not lucrative or beneficial at this point in my career for me to do
But I
those.
think and I think about this a lot, and this is kind of partly why I even do this show every week, is to like, I'm trying to make the community better if I can, you know, with whatever I can do, which is setting up cameras and getting people over to talk to us about what their art, you know.
I mean, at the very least, you guys do an extra promotion.
Yeah, that's a big
probably
thing. And that's
super
what
thankless sometimes, because a lot of these shows you guys aren't remotely involved with.
Occasionally, we are mostly, I usually know someone that's involved with the thing, but sometimes not.
Right, but I mean, every week y'all are plugging every local thing that you can remember.
Right. Or that we're aware of, which is a big problem, I think, with a lot of people's shows right now. It's particularly with music. Like comedy, I think y'all do a pretty good job of promoting your shows. I mean, some people do a great job, other people it's not so much.
Yeah,
but
it's definitely levels.
But with musicians, I feel like nobody does. I mean, there are very few bands that really push their stuff as hard as they should, or like any even comics do for sure. So, and that's the problem. It's like, I don't know, like, why do I not know about this show? I always find out about music after the fact. And it's like, oh, there was a show last night? Why didn't I know about that?
If you're not going to promote yourself, why would anybody else promote you?
Exactly.
Well, why not? Why put together the show?
Right. Yeah.
You only gonna put it up one time after 3 weeks.
That's a big problem.
Especially like, you just fucking post something every day.
Yeah.
From the time you book the show to the time the show is happening, just post something.
Yeah, why not?
It's not gonna take up that much of your time, man. Like,
I don't know, man. It's getting to where it's eating me a lot.
Well,
Well,
it's hard to keep track of
juggling
shit.
those multiple things.
Well, then also all the people and the information.
But it's like, for most people that aren't running shows and producing shows, you only have one thing or two things a month. You know, you don't have to. You know, that's a lot easier to. But I mean, everybody's got other lives and shit. That's a big problem with all this art. I mean, doing this stuff is competing with your own life and survival of whatever it is you're dealing with. So it's always there's always a balance there. But it's just like you said, it doesn't take that much time to post a flyer to Instagram or story.
And if you ever start feeling like you're stretched thin and getting overwhelmed with it, every now and then, just don't tag all those people.
Yeah, you don't have to do it.
Someday, you know what I'm saying? You're posted 7 days a week, and I do the same thing. I tag people so much. Some of y'all are probably tired of me tagging. But like, there's like, some days where I'm just like, man, it just feels like a lot today. So I'll just throw it up. Maybe put the ticket link on there, but that's it. I'm just gonna throw it up.
And
most of the time, it gets just as many views, if not more.
I think you're right on that.
I think that's something I noticed too. Like, I've started to slow down a little bit. I mean, I still keep up with the reels for the show because that's kind of easy for me, because I edit everything ahead of time and just have it ready to go. And so all I got to do is just post it up, make the captions. It takes a little bit of time, but
I discovered that, for me at least, tagging doesn't necessarily put more eyes on the posts. It just allows the people that you tag to share the post more easily. So sometimes I just won't tag anybody. I'll throw it, especially like if it's after 10 or 11 p.m. and I decide to post it, I'm not going to tag anybody. I'm not going to bother y'all at that time. I'm just going to post it. Whatever happens, happens. But if it's a regular time of night, and I'm just like, man, I don't want to tag 20 people for each of these 9 posts that I'm about to put on my story. I'll just tag the venue and the people directly involved in the show in hopes that they will see that and reshare it.
That's the goal.
That's kind of what I do with anything, for sure. It's like, I don't really reach out to too many, because I used to do this with this show for sure, and then like, I would make the guest a collaborator on the post, but I think that some people will like that, some people don't, and so I just stopped doing it. But I tag them, of course, but not the collaboration part or whatever.
I'll collaborate with the venue, and sometimes
that stuff
comedians that'll be down. But if you collaborate and they don't click it, then they're not tagged either. So sometimes I'll just tag people.
I think there's a balance there, but I don't know.
But I think you definitely do yourself. You do the host, the other host of the venue, right?
Yeah,
the venue,
of course.
and then
Whoever, if
the
people
main
are on the
players.
show, that's the thing, right? Like you should be tagging them, and they need to be resharing it. I mean, that's just,
ideally
That needs to happen
Yeah.
a lot more than it
so,
actually does.
and like, of course, if you're tagging just friends or whoever you think might want to share it, that's fine too. But it's like
I'll tag you. I'll tag
Yeah,
Neil.
of course.
It depends on the
certain people that,
Yeah.
that you, like you said, that you think are going to want to support you and reshare.
Well, the number one
it.
fans.
Yeah.
Like Tally Crystal.
Right, yeah, of course. But yeah, it's like, it's like sometimes it can be more work than it even needs. I mean, you don't have to do all of that, like you said. But, I think the one thing I always say about any kind of this, I mean, if you want to make it, if you really want to make it, and whatever it is your goal is, like, it's going to take work, and it's going to take doing things that you don't always want to do. I mean,
consistency.
yeah, it's just, that's a big part of it.
Consistency.
So.
Yeah.
Well, something that's helped me and that I've noticed is Facebook ads. Just pay the money to kind of have it pop up without you having to mess with it.
Yeah, that's a convenience.
Yeah,
I mean,
because it's saving you the time in the long run.
If you can afford it.
Yeah,
why
if you can
not?
afford it. I try to, basically what I do is I just try to break even.
Yeah.
And then that way everybody has a good time. I'm not spending my money. But
I don't think I've seen any significant uptick in results over $1 a day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You book something 30 days in advance, $1 a day. That's not bad.
yeah.
It's not bad.
I start doing 2 weeks before, and I'll throw more money just to kind of, because as it gets closer,
Right.
Yeah.
then that's when people, and going to groups like nightlife groups, bars groups, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that's been handy.
Yeah, there's a lot of opportunities. I think the hard part is finding out what to spend your time, what's the most effective use of your time with that stuff. I think because we only do have so much, especially, I mean, not even time, but just like the mental energy it takes to get on social media and sort all that shit out for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Also need people to realize the best thing you can do for a performer, entertainer, digital creator, especially a comic, is just share their stuff, man. Just share it. Like, I don't care if you see my YouTube video, my TikTok video, it makes you laugh. I don't care if you like it. I don't care if you comment. I mean, I do.
Yeah.
I appreciate
of
that.
course.
But it's easier and faster for you to just
like share it.
just share it. Just that is one of the most beneficial, helpful things that you could do. Because if I have 100 people that watch this video and laugh, and they all share it, and then 5 of their friends watch it, that's how we get growth. That's how we get numbers. That's how we get exposure. That's how we get followers, man. Just share my stuff. I've had so many people like that. I posted that Cat Williams clip from Put a Cork in.
Did white people watch the Cat Williams interview? Yeah. Ooh, doozy. I'm not gonna weigh in on it too much. I will just say that if Cat Williams started airing me out like that, I would be really mad. Mostly just because of his voice, right? When Cat Williams starts spilling tea on you, he sounds like a mystical creature guarding a bridge. And you gotta like listen to his rant and then answer a riddle if you want to.
Why does Ricky Smiley get booked more often as a woman than as a man? Answer this riddle and cross you can.
Yeah, that was a
It's got like 2.6K views on YouTube, like a little over 6,000 on TikTok. But I feel like if everybody that liked that video or laughed at that video shared it, it'd be viral, right?
Yeah.
It'd be tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands.
Have
if
you
not
boosted
a million of it. No.
No, you just trying to do it.
I'm poor.
I was just curious.
Yeah.
That's a hard decision for me to make on stuff, anything that I do with promotion wise. It's like, if it's a big show or something, it's like, I mean, with your shows and stuff, you're invested in it, you're actually making money off of it too, so it makes a lot of sense to put money back into it. But if you're not, it's like it's like, I don't want to put 20. That's like, I gotta go use this 20 for something specific. Like, I don't want to
Drugs.
so no, but I don't know, stuff is
Like Scooby-Doo.
Stuff is not cheap, but well, I was gonna say something about like that kind of sharing and stuff like that. I think that it's something I've noticed or I've been thinking about a lot with this. Is just all, any kind of business, right, or band or comedy. It's all about awareness of other being in other people's awareness of the getting in front of them and stuff. And so that's like it almost like doesn't matter. I think sharing, of course, because you're directly sharing a profile link with somebody else that they could follow and but it's like that, of course, is a huge one. But I think that there's no wrong answer as long as you're getting your name in front of more people.
Yeah, there's definitely no one path to the top of any of this.
Well, I was at Looney Bin last night, and I got there was a couple comics there that were like, I'd seen, they were really great. Shauna Blake and Landry Miller. Landry Miller, as we were seeing Irene too, but I got to meet them, and really nice, and they did a really great job for the challenge that they had. The crowd was very challenging. It seemed like. But they did really great, but they mentioned like, hey, I was like, hey, I'm Nick Campbell. If you want to, I'd do a show in OKC if you'd be interested. And they were like, oh, we know you. We've seen you. You posted. And like, and so it's the exposure from this, the exposure from that, other people. Everything. I feel like that kind of gets you out there.
And I think probably with that point, I think that there's probably so many more people that know about us than we even realize, and then it's like, so we feel terrible about like, oh, we're not doing enough, but. They know we're out there.
Just gotta keep grinding.
That's definitely a good sign when somebody outside of your area and your region starts to recognize that and recognize you. That's part of it. Everybody. We all need to grow outward.
If you really want to take off in that way.
Well, then now we have options for getting out of town people, which was the goal for this year for all my shows. So it's like, hopefully we can get more people.
Get people in here, and then it's because it's all beneficial. People, anytime you go to a new city, like, I mean, this is. For music, I've always thought, of course, but for comics too, it's like you don't even know what the venues are, what are the popular places, right? And it's like you need those connections to get, even find out what's worth doing or who to contact. And they need the same thing for here, and we know those things about our city, You
never know with like certain cities, certain venues are gonna have just like this weird little ticks,
right?
And like last night, we were going up to Chaos Brewery in Missouri, Joplin, Missouri, riding up there with Trevor, and he looks at me. Just kind of out of nowhere, like he just thought of it. He's like, "You don't have any tornado jokes, do you?" I was like, "Oh, no, this is an oddly specific thing." He's like, "Yeah, I was just gonna tell you, don't do tornado. They do not like that shit out here." It's like,
a lot of people died. And
now I want to write one.
You guys are really blowing me away.
No, as soon as you said that, I knew exactly where you were going, because it's like that. They've been having a lot more problems. That's like a weird thing with tornadoes. This is not.
Did he know that because he's been there, or because he thought of that?
This is like the 11th show he's done at that location.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure he's speaking from experience.
It looks like a good spot,
especially being from Oklahoma.
Cool. It was a fun show. It was a really cool spot. Trevor did great. Teddy White did great. Both amazing comics. Great crowd. It was a cool time. We started talking about like dark jokes and stuff that you'll never like probably ever say on stage, or if you do, it's a huge risk. And I ended up, we got this dark conversation, but I ended up writing a joke that I'll probably never do on stage, because not only does it involve Sandy Hook, but it involves like slavery and like the Jim Crow perception. It's
oh wow,
totally just dark fucking.
Some places.
Can you hum a few bars?
This relies on people's intelligence a little bit too, and actually knowing like a little bit about the history of slavery in America and Jim Crow and all that. But so. And I don't even know how we got on the subject. So, all right, the Sandy Hook situation was horrible, but the parents of some of the victims ended up getting over $100 million each for losing a child, which that's a terrible thing. That's not really.
Yeah, there's nothing
is enough,
right.
But Trevor was just kind of like, that's that's a big number. That's
Yeah.
I was like, that's horrible. Nobody wants to lose a child, but that's a lot of money. I might be okay with that. I would even be okay with 3/5 of that. So yeah.
So you're not doing that one again?
Probably not. Not ever gonna do that on stage.
I would even be okay with 3/5 of that.
But
I wonder though. I bet there's a lot of comics out. I mean, most comics, or not most, but there's probably a lot of comics that have jokes like that. They're like you have these jokes that it's like you've written that it's like you will never actually do because, or especially thoughts. I mean, we all have these thoughts for sure.
Right.
So there's no different than for a comic, why not turn it into a joke? Because I think honestly that stuff. I mean, that's why I love comedy so much. Is like it makes people think about things they don't want to think about sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it puts it in a way that you can accept it or think about it, and that's not, just the horrible aspect of it. Because if you went on stage and just talked about Sandy Hook and made everybody feel sad and didn't have a punchline, it's like, well, that sucks. It's just
why did you do that?
Yeah, it's like that's not really helpful either. But if you make a joke about it and kind of make it, I don't know, make it a little bit less
take the piss
terrible.
out of it. Take the hard edge off of it.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But there is, it's a tricky thing with comedy. I mean, find that line, and you cross that line occasionally and you can't come back from it. So,
I wish you had white guilt in your tool belt. I wish that was something you could capitalize on.
What do you mean? I feel guilty?
Yeah.
No, capitalize on the audience's white guilt for laughs.
Oh, I've got other things.
This is so much fun. I just want you to experience it just once. Maybe we can. No.
You want to trade sets?
I was gonna say maybe we could do you up in a. No, that's bad.
No, I'm not doing that again.
I feel like trading sets would be so much. That would be more fun for me and so much more of a challenge. For you.
Absolutely. Yeah, but I'm gonna give it my all.
Just if.
That would be pretty funny.
If you had to approach that, what's the first joke that pops in your head that you feel like you would actually be somewhat comfortable saying? Just try to do me. Try to do you.
Try to do
a little
anything.
Oh my god. Okay, and
I
we're
thought he was
filming.
about to take his glasses off.
And we're filming this?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. No. Hold on.
Immediately, I'm at it.
Man, I was clearing my throat. Calm down. I can't clear my
I
throat.
was like, what am I, honey bear in this video?
I dipped my toe in the water and I already got shocked. Yeah. Okay. Are we talking about Ranch 82? Are we talking about
whatever? I'm curious to where your head goes and what out of my act you feel like is safe.
Oh, 100%. It's whenever you start talking about Surge related or 90s related stuff or Voltron or dude, there was a time when we were at Ugly Flamingo. It was me, you, and John Childress, our old buddy from like 6th grade, and you hit every part of our childhood, and we were the only ones laughing. There was like 10 other people in there, but we were like, fuck it. And that's why I love you, man. It's because you're like, oh, this guy. You have. We grew up in Northeast back. We were like 4 little white guys there. You know what I'm saying? And so we grew up around like, black culture, and I don't see any difference, honestly, for me personally. Other than the struggles that you go through, I don't have those, which is,
So what you're saying is you're basically niggas.
All right, well, I just
want to see the look on his face.
It's honorary, maybe. But no, I think that, I don't have a fear of that as much as it's just like, all right, but I would 100% do all of your nerdy stuff.
Yeah.
And I would want to do the Little Mermaid stuff just because that shit's funny. But I wouldn't give it away. But
I feel like you could do every single bit of my Little Mermaid joke except for when I found out Ariel's a nigga.
Yeah. But that's a good one, man. I love those ones.
I love whenever I go into those bits and people are actually like shocked or upset Not at the
expect
joke,
it,
but at
yeah.
the fact that certain characters are black or become like.
Oh yeah.
Everybody knew about the Little Mermaid, but then I'll do the second part of that joke, which is like Tinkerbell. Like Tinkerbell's black now, and you'd be shocked how many white women are like,
Wait, what? No.
Do you see it, or do they come up to you?
I see
the
it, and
reaction,
sometimes like with that, they will literally have that reaction verbally in the middle of my set, like
Tinkerbell, not her.
Is that when you're like, well, listen?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
when you get like, okay.
I think it might have even been put a cork in it. Like I got to the Harry Potter bit, and somebody's like,
No, you leave Harry alone. Like,
Yeah.
don't mess with Harry Potter.
But that's like one of your funniest bits.
I love that.
Yeah, it's a
That's
good one.
fun for me.
Yeah, every one of your bits hit. Like even in like in a room where there's a baseline to your stuff that's just like you're getting it every time, you know. And I've seen that. I feel like you've made that jump in the time I've been lucky and fortunate enough to be in. Like show up right whenever it started, and then luckily I've been able to work a few shows with you, and like Ranch 82 where I've seen you completely pivot, and basically come at it from a different angle, and being like, hey, I know you've never seen a black guy.
What is up, white people, Texas? I mean, Whitesboro, Texas.
Yeah, that was. But it's good to see. Oh, if you can take the joke from a different angle for these people from their perspective, then you're. And connect with them. So like at the old folks home, I'm really good with old people. You know what I'm saying? I was raised by my grandparents, so it's like I know what they do.
You've got an old soul.
Yeah. And so when I went in, I was like, I'm just gonna do this grandma stuff that I've written but never really. But because they identified with it, they were more into it.
Yeah.
They wanted, I was talking about how great my grandma was and all this stuff, and all these old ladies were like, yeah, they are great.
I like him. He's a sweet boy.
Yeah. But that's working towards your strengths.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so because you do a lot of nerd culture stuff. Did you always do that? Or was that something you kind of incorporated more later?
That is one of the things that has always been a part of my act.
Well,
I mean, you gotta go with what you know.
That's why I was curious if that was something that you had realized later on, or
Yeah, I did realize later on that it had more room for growth, like more legs than I thought that it had, because I will a lot of times swing for super obscure stuff, like, but I've had a lot of other comics really tell me just like, man, like I've even had people that are kind of assholes tell me that they're envious of my ability to take certain subjects that they know majority of the audience does not know what I'm talking about necessarily, and still make it funny.
Well, like that Will Smith rap bit. Yeah. I mean, I saw that come from the beginning, and then you added a couple things, and it clicked in. And just now you get that applause break.
Right. Well, honestly, I owe part of that to David Wayne Jr. He's the one that told me you should add a couple lines from the Fresh Prince theme song into the joke. And I always just thought, like, that's the one Will Smith song everybody knows.
Yeah, you don't want to
I didn't
take
want
the low-hanging fruit.
But I took his advice and I did it on one of his shows, and it hit super hard. And then literally in my car on the way to the next show, I thought of, like, what if I just freestyle a little extra line that's not his? And then that's when I added at the end I got one little fight and I slapped Chris Rock. Would you believe it? Jada still won't touch my.
Yeah, dude.
It's just like little stuff like that, man. Just
little bits over time, like incremental change.
Sure.
And that's a 3 or 4 year old joke.
Oh, really? Yeah.
That is a 3 or 4 year old joke. I started the observation that every Will Smith song is the same, and that was just the joke. And doing the songs back to back.
But it's like that joke could keep going if he keeps putting out music for sure. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. So
I mean, like, because it's never gonna, whatever he does, it's like you
Right.
could build onto that still.
I shelved that joke for at least a year.
Yeah.
Just stopped
And then,
doing it.
yeah, of course, when he's back in the news.
And then all the Jada interviews happened, and then the slap happened. And it was just like, all right, everybody is going to be doing jokes about this. So what's my... And then it was just like, oh, I'm already doing that.
Yeah, tie it in.
He's obviously a cuck. So just tie all that together. But yeah, it just sometimes life will literally give, just like resuscitate a joke for you.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Just have it ready.
Yeah, especially because there's always new stuff. Even stuff I could imagine, like personal stories or whatever you have. Those can evolve based on new things that happen to you. I mean, like, yeah, especially like I can imagine like an older joke that maybe you tell about college or something. I don't know, or and then something happens later and you have to go back to college, and then it's like you could, I don't know, it's just
now there's an arc.
There's just all kinds of, like, you could use your life in that way if you wanted to.
You want to talk about your writing process? What do you do? You just write? You think?
I don't write.
You don't write, right?
I don't write. I used to actually write stuff down. So when I first started, I would write the full act, the jokes, word for word, and that just doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
It ends up coming out more robotic, more rehearsed. Just doesn't work. And there's less, I feel like there's less room for deviation when you're doing it that, like, methodically, and you're shooting for word. There's less room for improv and deviation from your plan. And then I started just doing bullet points. Just writing out, not the joke word for word, but the essence of the joke, something to remind me. And I just stopped writing. It just got to the point where it's just like so many times I'm just gonna completely throw all that out and just do something different anyway, or I'll write a joke at home when I'm stoned and it's the funniest thing in the world to me, and I'll go on stage and do it, and apparently it's only funny to me when I'm like 2 blunts in.
It's a very specific amount of weed.
Right, and they have not cracked that formula yet, so they're just not there. 100%. It just got to the point where it was more beneficial and more natural for me to work stuff out on stage. And by then I was lucky enough to have a few bits to where it's just like, all right, if I go to a mic and I'm just dying,
you have something to fall on,
then I could just pull this out. But I'm at least gonna try this stuff and just try it out in the moment. And then it got to the point where I think some of the big clubs were like, oh, he's getting booked, so he doesn't need to practice. Not true. If any of y'all are managing a club or a club night, or you have an open mic and you curate the list in any way and you're thinking, this guy doesn't need to practice because he's doing actual shows, not true. We need to practice. Like, I didn't get to where I'm at by not practicing every single chance that I got. But it got to the point where I couldn't get on stage for a mic because they weren't giving me a chance to. They're just like, he doesn't need it. He signed up, but we're just not going to put him on the list. Or I'd go sign up for Lucky Bucket, and they're just like, nah, he was on a show last weekend. He doesn't need to do this. And like, no, I need to practice. So it got to the point where for a while there, I was writing in the moment on stage in my head. Like, I would just try a bit out. I would just riff until something stuck, and then flesh things out from there. And that's kind of mostly where I'm at now. You know what I mean? I'll think of tags throughout the day. I'm more of a mental writer than anything else, and
do you think local showcases are kind of where you're able to, like, do a little bit more now then? Or right now it seems like you're somewhere every day almost, or every weekend.
Always got a show.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I don't perform at my mics really anymore unless I have something pressing, like specific, that I need to practice for. But that's really my only.
But at least that is
the only where I can.
At least you do have that. You made that opportunity yourself for you can take that opportunity. Whereas, like you're saying, if nobody else will give you an opportunity to get up in a mic, I mean, that sucks. There's I think there are a lot of opportunities out there for. Because I think that I love that about comedy is all you need is a microphone and a wall. It's just so cool that you could do it anywhere so it's hopefully there's going to be more and more of that. I mean, I think there is, especially like you said, we were saying about 2023 and like popping off in that time. I think that a lot of entertainment kind of popped off a lot more this year.
I think the world was ready for it. You know what I mean?
So it's kind of right timing anyways for you.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, because I think that there's, and hopefully this year is just going to continue that and get better. So
I had the benefit of most people being bored as fuck for the last 2 years.
yeah, exactly. So that's kind of, well, I guess what are your kind of your plans for the future this year, 2024? Anything in mind of anything?
Yeah, lots of stuff, man. I did I did 11 states last year.
Yeah.
So I'd like to at least double that. Travel more.
Yeah.
Go to places I haven't been.
Spread
at least
out.
haven't done comedy, and that's already, I'm already started. Got the
Hit the ground running.
Florida stuff next month.
Yeah.
Missouri again in March. But really, main goal is to finish building the website for the festival submissions. Thought I was going to get it done in time to have the festival this year, but next year, 2025, there will be a Loud City Comedy Festival in OKC.
Oh, nice.
So get all the structure of that done, and really just get one or more of the big clubs to give me a shot at headlining tonight.
So what are you doing to that end, or to book shows, to try to get in clubs or try to book shows out of town?
To try to, just really, Cody's gonna be calling us up to take us to a few places when he has the openings, and other than that, I just started with Florida because I have a little bit of business down there anyway, and I just reached out to all my contacts in the area, got a list of names and or clubs, and just started sending out emails and messages and attaching a short clip to all of those.
Do you do like a YouTube video clip deal?
Yeah, I literally just did that. Put a cork in a Cat Williams YouTube clip because it's like less than a minute long.
Yeah.
It's an attention grabber.
You want something quick. That's I
and
started
then I always
doing that.
just put on there like, if you want a full clip or even a full set, let me know and I can send it over.
Right.
Okay, that's
a
good.
point.
Like a kind of like an entry barrier, just like easy
Yeah,
entry.
something
Because
just like, hey, pay attention. Look, I am actually funny. And if that catches your interest, call
That's
me.
how I've always thought about with music, because I do a lot very similar things with music. You just email a club and say, here's a clip of us playing, 'cause that's always very important definitely for comedy, but for musicians, it's like they want to see your act, they want to see what they're gonna book, and then, but the thing is with most of that stuff, it's like they're not gonna listen. They're gonna listen to the first 30 seconds.
That's why I chose such a short video.
So it's
and
a good,
if
because
you want more, let me know. I can
you want
give
to
you a
catch
full.
them, because
I'll send you that whole set if you want me to prove that I wasn't just funny in that 1 minute,
right.
But
and then, but at that point they probably want to book you, or they want to make sure, or whatever, want to see more.
Honestly, if they respond at all, you've at least got a fairly solid chance, because it'd be the easiest thing in the world.
Do you use references or anything? Do you like, hey, I know this person?
in the email.
That's really the only time where I will list my credits. Is when I'm reaching out to a business or an individual that I would like to book me that I know knows nothing about me.
Right.
Then I'll actually list all my credits.
Like Carlos Mencia, Phase on Love.
It's long at this point. I went to type it in for these trips, and I counted all the people that I worked with at the Comedy Cellar, and it was just like, this feels pretentious at this point. It's a long list.
Yeah.
It's in the double digits now.
Yeah.
That's great.
Maybe they'll use it, hey,
I feel
have
extremely
you heard about
blessed.
Brandon?
Yeah, well, because it's like, I feel like if they see somebody, if I'm like booking a whatever, I'm looking at that, and I'm looking through and like, oh, well, let me just, you could find out if you're lying. It's like,
no, 100%.
It's like,
if I felt like I had rubbed any of these people the wrong way, I just wouldn't list their name, because the last thing you want is to be like, hey, did you work with Brandon Killough? Yeah, he's an asshole.
But it's like, and I imagine at a certain point you could just, you get into so many people, you're just like, you're cutting it down to the top 10 most well known or something.
I try to put it on my business page. For Facebook, just because I figure that's one of the first things people are gonna see, and I can't. It's nowhere near. You can't put enough characters on there.
You have to.
I had to list like 2, maybe 3 people, and just leave it at that.
But it's still. You get the most recognizable names, and people. Okay, this guy's. You're gonna. You've been putting in the work well enough, because I think with that stuff is like, I always think about whenever you get booked at a the Comedy Cellar or whatever, it's like those people, you got in there for a reason. So then other people are going to see that and like, okay, well, he's doing something right because they booked him or whatever.
Right.
So that's always huge.
Well, having a picture on that stage of you is a lot of proof right
Easy,
there.
Yeah.
But yeah. So sure.
Well, do you want to go do the bomb?
Worst bomb.
Bomb.
What do you got?
Man, honestly,
Oh man, I've never bombed.
no. I definitely have.
Yeah.
Definitely have. I just don't know if I would quantify. It's always painful.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Or what's like the one that
always
stands out that maybe is funny, or maybe it's just like something that you learned the most from? I don't know.
I've been fortunate enough to where I've really like only like bombed at mics.
Yeah.
It's never
Not
been
like
like
a
a
show,
crucial situation, like a showcase where it's just like, oh fuck, that was burned.
No.
There's been plenty of times where I'm like, I feel like I could have done better, but I don't know.
But not crashing into the side of a mountain.
No. Like maybe Dave in Detroit at the end of one of my sets at a open mic being like, what the fuck was that, bro? But nothing really super stands out. I did have, and it wasn't a bomb, but it was just like me trying a new joke, and I bounced it off one of my comic friends. And this was a joke where I was actually going to attempt to like rap on stage, which I don't usually do unless it's Will Smith shit. But they tried to give me a tag that they thought was funny. And I was like, oh, dude, I just wrote this and it's a lot. Don't give me any tags. Not that I don't think it's good. It's just like I am barely keeping together what I have here.
Yeah, trying to do
and you're throwing other shit in there and it's gonna fuck me up. And it did.
Yeah.
It definitely did. Yeah, like
But that's kind of going back to what you were talking about earlier. Whenever something threw you off your mental focus. Yeah.
I did. Again, I technically wouldn't call it a bomb, but the last Roastamania I was on in Tulsa, I got to the finals, then I lost to Cepeda Cheeks. Partially lost to K-Von too. It's just like bonus round. And that was funny to me. I'll call that a funny bomb just because by the 5th or 6th time that he asked the audience to vote, it was very cold in the showroom that night. And I can't remember if he said, do you want a bonus round or do you think he was like, you guys want another bonus round? You guys want him to tell another joke? That's what it was. And this white dude in the audience was like, it's cold, we want to fucking go home.
Damn.
It's time.
That was like more of like fighting against the elements.
Yeah.
That sucks. Yeah. So I guess we got one question I always want to ask, and this is kind of maybe a deeper question, but it's like, we've talked a lot about, I guess, challenges that we all face. What challenge do you see for comedians that that you see that you run into a lot, or maybe, and what do you do to get around it, or particularly for younger people getting into comedy or performing arts?
Ego.
Yeah. You hear that a lot.
and getting out of your own way.
Yeah.
They're kind of two sides of the same coin. You know what I mean? You gotta squash that. Squash that ego, man. We're all just telling jokes. We're coworkers.
Everybody, nobody's better than anybody else.
Yeah. But on the opposite side of that, man, just like, things go bad. Don't doubt yourself. Don't do the imposter syndrome thing. It's tough to do, but if you really feel like you got something in this and you're passionate about it, just keep plugging away, man.
Yeah.
Just keep. I'm not doing anything any different than most of these people out here, other than just consistently plugging away at it. Just busting my ass.
Yeah, I think that's
the only difference is maybe my work ethic. I'm not doing anything else like super different. I mean, I'm telling my own jokes. Everybody's got a different act.
You're being
different
yourself.
jokes, different things. But like, I don't think I'm doing anything necessarily all that special except for just stick-to-itiveness.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you have a better sense of self than some other people do? Like, I feel like sometimes if you're confident within yourself, you can get confident on stage a lot easier, and you don't feel as impostery. But it's almost like who's better at being themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
I feel like a big part of it is who is better at being themselves without comparing themselves to everyone else.
I like that one too. Yeah.
That I think is my biggest benefit as far as just my mentality and how I approach things is I refuse to compare myself to somebody else. It's not the same thing. We're doing the same thing, but we're not doing the same thing. If that makes any sense.
It's your journey.
It's like absolutely. Like I've had comics, you know, put me in their top 3 comics in the city, top 5, stuff like that, or in the state even, and then they'll ask me my list. I'm just like, I genuinely don't have a list. Like I don't do that. I don't rank. I don't rank us. I don't rank myself. I don't do any. I feel like if I approach things like that and I thought about things like that, I would drive myself insane. Like I just
always trying to.
I just want to be a better me.
Yeah.
I just want to be the best
yourself.
me I can. I want to hone my craft. I want to get better, and I just want to keep growing. I you know.
Would you do it even if you weren't like this? You love it, you know? Would you do it even if you weren't getting a lot of acclaim? You'd still go to mics. You'd still do stuff at Bricktown.
I mean, I did for 6 years.
Yeah, you just love it. You just love it, right?
Yeah,
I mean, you're just gonna do it no matter what.
I feel even when things weren't going super great in comedy for me, even things were going horribly in my personal life. Thank God, both are
better now.
doing so much better now. But there was a time where basically I was faced with the choice of take a break, maybe even just quit and sort my own shit out and get my mental health taken care of, get better, or buckle down and do it more. And I did the latter. I decided to buckle down. I doubled down. I did more. I started doing more shows, and my thought process was, if I'm too busy to think about the bad shit, it won't bother me.
I do that a lot.
Most successful.
And not only did I benefit from that, because, you know, that's when bookings started rolling in, I started getting more busy, and it stopped becoming a forced thing and just became I was just naturally busy.
I think that's something that I see in myself with, like, the more it's like, when you start doing a lot, I think with this kind of stuff, it is hard at first, but the more you do it, the easier it gets to manage.
That's true.
And it doesn't seem like as much, and it takes less mental energy, I think.
You don't get time to think.
There have been other times where I took the opposite route. You know what I'm saying? I got faced with adversity, whether it was in the comedy world or in my personal life, and I backed off. You know, take a week off, a month off, whatever. And I felt worse.
Yeah.
And part of that is, like I said, my anxiety, and the fact that it dissipates whenever I'm on stage.
Helps you manage it.
And for that little time period that I took that little break, I didn't have that anymore. Didn't have that outlet. I didn't have that break from the constant anxiety. So it negatively affected it made things worse. So I think I'm one of those, and there's, I think, some of us that are like this. I don't think it's just me, but I need it. Like, I'm worse off without it. So yeah, absolutely, I would keep going.
I feel
Well, you come off as a performer. I mean, you do musician, rapper, producer, you know, and a comedian.
I'm the exact same way with music. It's like, I know what it's like to have not done it during the pandemic, and I was miserable, and it's like, I need that outlet. And like, I think whatever creative outlet it is for me, I do a lot of different things, but it's like music and performing is one of the biggest. I think it's in a weird, I don't know, but I think it's a similar thing in that anxiety. I don't know, because I deal with a lot of the same things with that in that nature.
Everybody needs a place to feel themselves, to feel calm, to feel free, and for me, it's the stage. And without that, it's not good. It's not good.
Well, you do, man.
Depresso, espresso.
Yeah, I think you completely do it. And from what I've seen, and I'll rank you. I'll rank you right now. I don't give a shit. You're good.
Thank you.
Yeah, dude, you're number one. And I tell John Wallen, you're number one too.
Hear that shit, John.
So we're planning on doing a review video game show where we only give out 5 stars. So that way you don't piss
Or
nobody
just
off.
like
you know?
every review of it we ever do.
Let somebody else be a critical critic. You know? Right. We're here to share love.
Yeah.
And John is great, man. I love John. He's definitely deserves everything that he gets in this business and in life. It's just like it doesn't feel good when people rank me over him. Absolutely. But does it hurt my feelings when people rank him over me? No, not at all. Because I don't believe in that. Man. You know what I mean? It's just
It's a good way to look at.
That's a good attitude.
Sure.
Yeah. And that's the philosophy we're going to take into Lively tonight. So if you guys want to come out to Lively, even though this is a week later.
Yeah.
But,
hey, you will have time. Come see me February 4th. It's a Sunday. Featuring for Michael Palaskak at Bricktown Comedy Club.
yeah.
Oh, nice.
It's going to be a great show. He's
Yeah,
one of the
we got
last
that.
comic standing guys. Hilarious. Hilarious person.
You got that show. I guess we jump into the upcoming events and we'll probably wrap it up.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. All right, what you got?
The upcoming events for Friday, January 26th. We have friends playing in the Resonator in Norman on Friday at 8 p.m. The headliner is Tilt Largo, and the special guests Sacred Rose, Lunar Division, and Burn Noticed. At Resonator in Norman, 325 East Main Street. It's $10 in all ages. Lunar Division, good friends of ours. They haven't played in a while. I mean, I've seen them at least 3, maybe. I try to make it to all their shows because they do the same thing for me. Anytime we play, they show up. So I love those boys. But yeah, it's gonna be a good lineup. Kind of a heavier kind of lineup, I think, with the harder rock. But
That's
Resonator.
such a cool band name.
Lunar Division.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It sounds like a branch of Space Force.
Yeah. They're awesome. They're kind of indie rock, kind of a little bit of that harder indie rock, I would say. They're a lot of fun, so check that out Friday. And then also Friday, Nick, you've got a show.
Yeah, I've got a show. I would be at that Lunar Division show because I love those guys.
Yeah.
But I'll be too busy hosting the comedy night at Rough Tail Brewing Company. Yeah, Matt Farrell and Wayne Morris kind of put me on that, and so I've been doing a lot better as far as the hosting goes, I feels like. So they kind of like gave me the opportunity, which is great. I've been taking opportunities to do JJ's too, which is good too.
Hosting.
Next week
You're doing
as well.
Yeah,
That's definitely a great skill to polish, and by the time you get amazing at it, you're gonna hate doing it. But it's a great skill to polish.
But yeah, that one's with Matt Farrell, Wayne Morris, Garrett Barbie, Katie Style, hosted by me, Nick Campbell. Promoter is My Peacock Comedy Production. Rough Tail Brewing Co. 320 West Memorial Road, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. That's $10. Man, I mean, that's pretty cheap for everybody I just listed. So
Super solid lineup too.
yeah.
I've never been to Rough Tail. I didn't realize it was up on Memorial. I probably driven by it a ton of times, so I'll have to go. Well, that's the thing.
It's
is
like across the street from Main Event, kind of, or down the road a little ways.
Yeah, I know Matt. I just saw him a little bit, but I want to see because he's going to be on the podcast the day after that show,
Yeah,
right?
so he's going to be by to do the podcast next week too.
Katie and Garrett are both Tulsa people.
Okay.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, this is an interesting lineup because this is a local show, but it's all out of towners besides Nick.
Yeah.
So it'll be fun. All right, so that's Friday, and then also Friday you're going to be in Stillwater.
Bad Brad's Barbecue.
Bad Brad's Barbecue, Friday, January 26th, out in Stillwater. We got your headlining, is that right? And then featuring is Curtis Newsom, Daryl Williams, and Zach Amon. And that's the T&D Entertainment guys. I think, didn't y'all meet them? They were at a Lively
They came
show.
Yeah. What was his name, man? Tyler, that's what it was. Yeah, they're good guys.
Yeah, because I remember him telling you about this show that you're going to be on. That was months ago.
He's had me booked on this for, I want to say, at least 2 months.
I was going to say, whenever that was, I think maybe you guys were just starting to talk about it or whatever. But yeah.
Yeah.
So that's $5 if in advance, $10 at the door Friday if you're in Stillwater. Go check it out because they do a lot of shows out there, right? Or these guys do.
This is going to be the first one.
Bad
Brad's Barbecue. So many bees. Brandon Killough headlining Bad Brad's Barbecue.
Oh yeah. So yeah, that'll be a fun because I know that guy Tyler was talking about bringing more comedy to Stillwater. So it's a big goal.
T&D is him and Daryl.
Okay.
And I mean, they're super passionate about it. And they've got it booked at least through March.
Yeah.
So I think
that's beautiful.
It's gonna be solid.
Yeah.
I was, of course, a little worried and hesitant about like what bringing comedy back to Stillwater would be like, and if we would get a turnout. But we did the Great White Buffalo in December, and that was a great litmus test. I mean, it was just a packed out show. They loved it. Great crowd.
No, why do you say that? What happened to comedy in Stillwater?
It was just there hasn't consistently been like comedy showcases out there. I think somebody out there runs an open mic, but it's just one of those towns. It's one of those outlier towns. If you're going to do an open mic, you're really mostly only going to be able to pull from the talent in that town and surrounding towns. You're not going to have a lot of comics that want to come and drive like an hour to Stillwater for just practice.
Yeah,
that's true.
And then so you basically have to do a showcase, but when there hasn't been one there in over a year, it's always just you're bringing it into an untested, untapped market.
Yeah.
And mostly probably college kids for the crowd. And they're tough to market to because you can't exactly go and bark on campus.
Yeah.
You can, but only for so long before they're like, hey, you gotta fucking go, man. And you gotta schedule around the college schedule.
Yeah.
What are the you schedule a show when these kids are gonna be at a game or out of town.
Even in
screwed. Yeah.
It seems like Norman. I just thought about this, but I mean, there's obviously open mics in Norman, but like, they don't do a lot of shows out there, probably for the same reason.
Yeah, honestly, and I've been at, I think, at least one showcase and a couple of mics in Norman when college was out and the kids were not on campus, and it was just like, why are we even here, man?
I play a lot of music out in Norman because they do a lot more music than they do here for sure, but that's always been a problem.
It was honestly a big risk doing the Great White Buffalo when we did it, because that was like right when winter break was so those kids could have all just been gone, but we were very lucky that they turned up for us, man. That was a great show.
Hopefully it'll be good and they can continue doing that and build it up there.
I think he picked a good time to do it, toward the end of January. They're back in school at the very least. So
as long as you can work that out. All right. Well, it'll be fun. All right. Well, that's it for the show. Thanks, Brandon, so much for coming over.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
Thank you guys for finally having me on. Thought it was going to be 6 years.
Hey, it took us a while to get good, man. Come on.
Yeah. No, it's.
We want to make sure you were famous.
Yeah, and then now we've gotten a lot of a good cadence going with the guests. So, yeah. Thanks for coming and spending a couple hours with us talking about comedy.
Yeah, bye, guys. Appreciate you.
Bye.
Marty Johnson is a walrus.
I'm just playing Marty. I love you.
Hell yeah, that was good.
Telling his secrets like that.
I just want to just like, I want to just say Cedric. Let me just pick an Oklahoma comic.
Magical Negro situation that scared the hell out of me a couple of weeks ago. And it was, his brother I was hooking some people up with some phones. His homeless brother looked me dead in my eyes and just stopped everything, stopped me in my tracks, and hands me a red do-rag like the gang members have, like the Bloods have. And he said, "You need this." Yeah, just like that. And the tone, and I believed him. You know what I mean? I was like, "Can you tell me what I need it for?" Like, because that's some scary shit, bro. Like, you know what I mean? And he was just like, "Nah, you don't have to take it." I was like, "No, I want it. I'm not saying that." I was fuck the expert. Yeah, so I still have it. You gotta be safe, bro. You know what I mean? Like, And people have asked me, like, did you wash that? And I'm like, absolutely not. I don't want to wash the magic off of it. I don't know how this shit works. You know what I mean? And if it's not a magical Negro situation and he wasn't some sort of like, fortune teller, or it doesn't have some juju on it, then I just got initiated into the Bloods easier than anybody ever has. You know what I mean?